There once was a ship put to the skies. The name of the ship was the Enterprise. Her nacelles lit, her phasers armed, oh blow, you red shirts blow. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go. Been not 2 weeks from Sector 1 when we were sacked by Romulans. Red alert was called, and Captain said torpedoes make it so. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go. Before our foe had reached the hull, the shields were raised and power at full. Screen went dark, the Romulans gone when they engaged their cloak. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Star Trek Wars Council Roundtable, where we're going to be talking about, I was going to say the first good next-gen film, but possibly the only good next-gen film. We're talking Star Trek First Contact, which I know got a very, very good reception on the main pod, so we'll see how it goes down here. I'm Senior Council Member James King, and joining me is Lainey.
This is no time to be talking about time. We don't have the time. Sorry.
You've been drinking, Lainey?
Yeah.
And also Alex.
Hi.
And Derek.
Hello.
So, Star Trek First Contact. We'll start off as we usually do then by talking about when we first saw it and what we thought back in the day and everything. And I haven't got the most interesting story about this. This was just your basic, yeah, it came out, I went to the cinema, I saw it, it was great. But something weird happened when it came out on VHS in the UK. And I don't know, Lainey, I don't know if did you have it on VHS?
I don't know. Not an official copy.
Right, oh, cinema. So, you know, you wouldn't steal a car. Well, you might, but...
how do they know?
Well, yeah, exactly. How do they...
That's why I've been... How do you know I wouldn't steal a purse?
Don't judge
How do you
me.
know?
I am capable of all sorts of things. But anyway, so piracy aside, no, I had the official VHS, and it had a little sticker on the front of it. And, you know, this is in the day before DVDs were a big thing and extra bonus features were a big thing. And it had a sticker and it said, contains exclusive interview with Alice Krieger. And you were like, oh, cool. So it had a 25-minute interview with Alice Krieger, and it was just her. You couldn't see the interviewer, so it was kind of like doing a Zoom call, you know, or a Skype call, which we're used to now. So it was just the camera in her face, like a talking heads camera, 25 minutes, them asking her all about the Borg Queen and this, that, and the other. They put it at the start of the video. So you wanted to watch Star Trek First Contact, and you had to either sit through 25 minutes or fast forward it 25 minutes. And, you know, again, not to rain on the parade of anyone who's young enough not to remember VHS and the joys of it. But you had two options when you fast forwarded. You could either stop and fast forward, in which case you can't see what's going on and you've just got to take a stab in the dark and go play and hope that it's where you want it to be. Or you had something which I don't know what the official term was, but I used to call it C fast forward, which is where you wouldn't stop, you'd just hit fast forward while you're watching, and the tape would go, and you'd get like lines on it and everything would go a little bit faster and it'd go, so you could do that. But C fast forward was only, maybe twice as fast as regular speed, so it still took 12 and a half minutes to fast forward this interview with Alice Krieger, you know. So I think what I did after the first time was like just remembered how long it was so that I could fast forward. But I'm like, why put it at the start of the video? If you're going to do it, put it after the credits at the end so that we can safely ignore it going forward. But
must have been in a contract.
Yeah, you're going to do a special feature and it's unskippable. Like, can you imagine if they did that on a DVD now and it was unskippable? Or they did it on, a streaming service. So, you go to watch it on Paramount Plus and it goes, well, you may want to watch First Contact, but first, and you can't skip it. It just wouldn't, these were the crazy days of VHS. But then I upgraded to DVD, and I did so do you remember they used to do these magazines? They still do them, but they don't do them for DVDs anymore. Where they'd have these magazines and it'd come out and it'd be like, every 2 weeks, a new Star Trek adventure. Build your collection to own every episode of Star Trek. And it'd be like, issue 1, only £1.99. Issue 2, $5.99. Issue 3, $12.99. And, I bought issue 1 because you got First Contact with it, and I was like, well, that's a good price. Even if I'm not going to collect the rest of them, I may as well go issue 1, First Contact, lovely jubbly. And that did not contain the Alex Krieger interview, so that was really good.
Bonus.
And I also sat down and worked out, because this is how sad I was. I was like, right, they're bringing out this collection, they're doing 3 episodes per DVD, they're doing the original series and Next Gen. So I worked out how many discs it would cost to collect it through this magazine, and it worked out less expensive than just buying the box sets, so I was like, I'm not going to do it then. So that's my First Contact story anyway, and for anyone who's still awake, that was not a dig at Joe. We'll carry on. So, why don't we, Alex, when we did our Independence Day podcast, you hit us with the revelation that you were not born when Independence Day came out. So, were you born when this came out? 'Cause this was a little bit later.
When did this come out?
I want to say...
96.
96.
Oh, same year as Independence Day then.
Not quite.
Not quite. So when did you first see it?
It would have been close enough for it to still be a thing when I would have been born. It would have probably still been something that people talk about. But so that was like the first film that like my dad actually sat me down here, go watch this. This will be fun.
That's pretty cool.
When my dad got me into Star Trek, because he's one that gets everyone into Star Trek. But this is the one that he's like, you gotta watch this. This is awesome. He just made me watch it. So it was like, it's kind of really my first legit Star Trek Next Generation film. That I just sat down and watched the whole thing, opening credits, the entire movie all the way to the end, all the ending stuff, just straight through, no breaks or anything.
So how old will you have been when you first watched it then?
18 months. So went straight into Trekkie training school.
No, it was after Jaws and Princess Bride, so that would have been probably about 8 or 9.
So that's pretty... I'm just interested because it's, to see sort of how old or young you'd have to be for it to hold your attention, so that's pretty cool. So don't imagine a 9-year-old would do well with motion picture, for example.
Yeah, and I didn't watched it, and I was like, oh, okay. Never mind. I'll keep going. We're good here. Don't need to watch this again.
And Derek, what about you? When did you first come across this one?
Oh, God. Mine's probably more boring than anyone else's because I was not really watching... I had watched Star Trek, then I went off to college. So this was... Let's see, did it come out in the summer or the fall of 96? Do we know?
I think you guys probably got it in the summer, and we used to get them a little bit later in the year. It's not really a thing anymore that, it's all global simultaneous releases now, but we used to hear about all these films and be like, oh, I'd love to see that, and yeah, we didn't get them. November 22nd, you guys got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was finishing my senior year of college, because I'm old, and so I didn't see it in 96, 97, because I was a good little student, and was probably studied way too much in college and did not go out enough. So I saw it in the summer of 97. I was visiting a friend, and she was just about to start school in North Carolina. I was about to start grad school in Minnesota. So I think we watched it. We were bored one night and I was visiting her, so we just watched it. It was really good. And I was like, crap, I haven't watched Star Trek in like 4 years. And this is actually good. So so that kind of actually got me started back into Star Trek, because then, let's see, Deep Space Nine was getting, it was always awesome, but it was getting even better then. So I started watching that and again in 97 and in grad school. So yeah. So that this actually kind of got me back into Star Trek.
And that's like a good time to come back onto Star Trek as well. It's like you say, Deep Space Nine's sort of season 5 where it's all kicking off and getting awesome, and then you've got Voyager's got its first seasons out of the way, and we're starting to get a bit better with Voyager, and then Enterprise. And
then also, I know Jeremy just shuddered, but Babylon 5 was getting towards the end.
Yes.
So it was a good time.
Babylon 5. I didn't see Babylon 5 at the time, but yeah, that was a great show. And they will learn that. Jeremy will learn it when they get to the good stuff.
They're so close. They're so close.
Yeah, once they get out of season 1, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, honestly. So if you're listening, Jeremy, you'll get there. The coming of the shadows. Just stick it out till the coming of the shadows, and it'll be great. So, pros then. I sense we're going to have a lot of pros. Alex was still writing her pros when we started this call. So,
did we get Lainey's story of Star Trek?
Oh no,
you didn't. But I don't have.
Sorry,
one,
Lainey.
Fine, move on. I cannot remember when I first saw this film. It's just part of my brain. I have no specific memory of seeing it for the first time. It just exists.
Yeah, I have films like that, like Star Wars, Superman, most of the James Bond films. Like, I've just always have seen them. So pros then. Alex, do you want to start us off with the pros then, since you've got a exhaustive list?
It's less a list and more of like a 60-second Spark Notes version of the film. But I can go through it. It's going to be awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
This is how it goes. Okay. Oh no, it's the Borg. I am the cutest of the Borg. Psych, it's a night mirror. But wait, there's a new Borg threat. No, Enterprise, you can't join us. Oh yay, nebulas. But why can't we join? Starfleet loves y'all, but he doesn't like me, because they think I'm too involved in the Borg. And it's like, oh no, Starfleet is losing. Oh, guess we gotta join the fight now. That's too bad. Disobeying rules. It's like, okay. Fire faces at this point. Yay, we win. But wait, what's that? Secret spaceship. Magical time vortex. Do-we-do. What year is it? It's April 4th, 2063. Dun, dun, dun. Welcome to Montana. Awesome. Oh no, Cochrane's gone. But here's somebody else who's a plot point. Meanwhile, Borg evasion of the Enterprise. Dieter, no! The plot point is back. Yay! Sounds Swedish. There's the holodeck plot point too. Yay! Assimilate this. Let's destroy the ship to destroy the Borg. No! The line must be drawn here. This far, no further. I will make them pay for what they've done. Okay, Captain Ahab. Cool. That's nice. Meanwhile, Cochrane time. Where is he? He's drunk. Who are you? We're space people. You mean like astronauts on some sort of Star Trek? Cochrane gets cold feet. Oh, there's a statue of you. You told him about the statue. Time for liftoff. Whoosh. Fire the warp ship. Resistance is futile. Data no. Data yes. Forward. Whoosh. Magical smoke. Picard power pull up. Do, 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 do. Thanks, Data. No problem. The warp test is a success. It's Vulcan time. Live long and prosper. Ooby dooby. Ooby dooby dooby. Wahoo, wahoo, wow. The end.
And thank you for joining us on this Star Trek Roundtable.
Yeah,
I don't really need to say anything else.
Yep, that was outstanding.
Very good.
Told you it's going to be awesome.
Very, very good.
Yeah, but that's about all the pros. Aside from the music being like literally the best soundtrack ever to exist, that's just, it speaks for itself. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, who wants to follow that then? Because that was incredible.
Just have to try and find the bits that she didn't say. Okay, so you did Double Bluff opening. Well done. The Enterprise E. Should we discuss the Enterprise E?
Yeah, the Enterprise E
this is our
is
first
awesome.
seeing of the Enterprise E. I think it looks prettier in Nemesis, but I'm not allowed to like Nemesis.
You are allowed to like Nemesis. And
I don't know why it does look different in Nemesis, but I don't know whether that's because this a model and that CGI? Or?
No, this is CG. So I think I agree with you. Maybe because there's more like space battles and stuff in Nemesis, so we get to see a bit more of it. I don't know.
Maybe it's the type of direct, isn't it? It's like an action director or whatever. So maybe it's how it's directed.
Could be.
More on that in 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of direction, I think Frakes did a lovely job. There's that shot of Picard in his ready room, and you can see his reflection, and then Riker comes in behind him. Just sort of little things like that I thought were really good. Listening to the battle on Earth. With that, to hell with our orders. But Data using a little bit of his emotions chip. Anyone else want to have a go? I could keep going. But the last time I recited the list, someone fell asleep. I liked Riker's line to Worf, you do know how to fire phasers. Do remember how to fire phasers, sorry. And Data jumping down in front of Lily and going, greetings.
Yeah.
Literally, I knew this would, it's just like scene by scene by scene. It's just like, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. Is one of my deeper thoughts. So Picard touches the Phoenix and Data's like, why? And he said it can alter your understanding, make it seem more real. And I thought, actually, that's there's a lot that's paralleled between what's going on the surface and what's going on the ship. So the Borg Queen gives him this skin, and it helps him like feel things in a more real way.
Oh yeah,
so I
never picked
that was
up
maybe
on
a bit of like forcing.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah,
I've never ever picked up on that. That's brilliant.
I don't think I had till this point. And then I've had there's one I will remember this fantastic thought I've had and I can't understand. I will get there. Seeing the Doctor, a Voyager Doctor, and his analgesic cream. Always a bit of a bonus. I just felt that it's just so punchy, like all the way through. It's just like so slick, and like it goes from one thing to another thing. There's no motion picture horror about this film at all. There's no plodding along. It's just like we're doing this, and Picard's like, right, he's barking out his orders, and people are just doing it, falling behind him, and Worf's throwing Data a phaser, and he's like, yeah, I've got the phaser, and it's just so snappy. In contrast to the chaos that's going on Earth and the chasing Cochrane around a little drunk puppy. No time to argue about time. Like that. I would very much like to be able to deactivate my own anxiety at any given point. That was a visual thing. This one, I don't know, should be in neutral zones. How do we feel about the innuendo between Data and the Borg Queen? Well, it's not the sexual tension, and when she's like, "Was it good for you?" and all that stuff. I don't know if I like it or if it makes me feel sick.
I don't get the Borg Queen sexy thing, and what's weird is previously I would have felt okay saying I don't find the Borg Queen sexy, but after listening to the podcast and everyone's like, whoa, the Borg Queen is so sexy, I kind of feel like is it me that's got something wrong with me that I don't? But no.
I don't know if it's so much she's sexy. It's like there's the tension between them.
There is. And
there's like a mechanical tension.
Yeah. And I think I suppose this goes on to the bigger kind of question, and this is in my neutral zones. It's just the concept of the Borg Queen generally. Like, it's moving away from what our understanding of the Borg was. And I get it from a mechanical perspective, that no pun intended, but when you're making a film, it's good to have a bad guy or a bad girl or what have you. It's good to have a figurehead for the villain, and so you can have your protagonist and your antagonist taking each other on, and it's good to have a spokesperson so Data can have all this back and forth and everything. So functionally, I completely get why she's there. I'm just not sure it's ever adequately explained enough how that fits in with the Borg as we understood them. And I think this gets even muddier when you move on to Voyager, and we've got the Borg Queen in Voyager.
Is there more than one Queen? Because, well, I'm just thinking if you go all the way forward to Picard, when they're on that Borg ship and they hashtag spoilers, they escape in from there's the Queen's Nest bit, and she has a special exit strategy.
Yeah.
So it's do they have hives?
Yeah.
Is she the queen for that hive?
Does every cube have a queen? And who's the queen of the queens? And my understanding of it is that the Borg Queen is not an individual as such. She's just kind of a conduit for the collective to express itself. That's the only way that seems to make sense to me. But then, like you say, there's all this kind of sexual thing with Data, and it's that's a very individual thing that's coming across. So yeah.
Maybe they created her, the hive mind created sexy Borg Queen specifically because they were trying to break Data down to get his encryption code.
Maybe, but then there's a flashback that she also knew Locutus, so...
Oh, yeah. Well, they all knew Locutus, so she would have known Locutus.
No, but she was on the ship, so he was like, you were on that ship with me. And but I blew it up, and she's like, well, I don't think so, three-dimensionally. Time travel, don't ask questions.
I think it would have been okay had she not appeared again, or maybe the last episode of Voyager. We didn't see her 4 more times, and she became kind of the antagonist to Janeway, and her fascination with Seven, because everyone's supposed to be infatuated with Seven, I guess, in Voyager, because that's the way they wrote it. But if she were here and it was just for a specific purpose, that'd be fine, I think.
Yeah, because there's a lot of finality to it that Picard, snaps her spine, and it's like he's finally defeated the demon that's haunted him, and blah, 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 blah. And then she just appears again in Voyager and just goes, hey! And you're like,
She's the Fonz, yep.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, the Borg Queen. Sorry, Lenny, we interrupted your prose.
No, please do. I hate just listing my list.
Derek?
Please intervene.
Derek, what have you got then?
I've got, overall, I love this movie. This and Wrath of Khan always, it just depends on my mood, but they are my top 2 by far. I think mostly because this movie is so efficient, especially compared to Generations. It gets to the point. It doesn't skip anything, but it's just okay, here it is. We'll explain it for 15 seconds, and then we'll do it. So it's not, no one's hemming and hawing about it. It's just very, here come the Borg. I was captured by the Borg. We got to stop them. And I love the fact that the Borg have so many different things going on at once. So they're not just trying to bomb Montana. they've trying to get the other Borg. They're trying to get the codes from data. There's so many, they're smart, they're computer, they've got 80 things going on because we think they're a collective conscience, and they're going on. I just love Alfre Woodard in this. So she is only the second, really the female they presented in Next Generation that can hold up to the way they wrote it, that she can hold up to Picard next to, God, what was her name? That they had the relationship for one episode and then she disappeared.
Oh, the woman from Lessons.
Yes.
Oh, God, what was her name?
Neela Darren.
Darren. Yes. She's very forthright.
Picard couldn't deal with someone with his authority on the ship, and so obviously she had to go because in the future we're not sexist at all, right? But she just did really well. I'm so glad they didn't have a romantic thing. I'd rather have Data and the Borg Queen. If there had to be one, it's a throwaway. Not that we needed one, but I just love the fact that she calls him on his shit, and she doesn't care, and he tries to be very official with her, and then he breaks down several times, and she's like, it's okay. You've been through a hell of a lot. You've had PTSD with these people. So even though it's efficient, it has some very cool specifics, like Generations with everybody's mixed up uniforms, which drove me nuts. Whereas this one, at the very beginning, you see Picard in his old uniform because that was in the past, when he was on the Borg ship. And I thought, wow, that's actually makes sense. And little things like when Picard asks Worf, have you done zero-G? Do you remember zero-G training? And Worf just kind of shrugs and does his Worf thing. And he's like, yes. Just those little moments that the characters come out, but they didn't take forever. Like Data wasn't, his emotion chip, he turned it on, then Picard was like, when Lainey mentioned, he's like, turn it off. And Data was like, okay. And then Picard was like, I envy you sometimes. And I was like, that's a great succinct way of putting it. Other fun things with the Borg, every time they say Borg, it reminds me of the great 70s tennis player Bjorn Borg. So that's always a good thing. A little plug, there's an American National Public Radio quiz show that's unfortunately ending, but it's called Ask Me Another, and they had Patrick Stewart on from an old episode a couple of weeks ago. And he was brilliant just doing comedy. He was reciting pop lyrics in a Shakespearean fashion, this game show. So if anyone wants to look it up, it's called Ask Me Another. This for me is like an 11 out of 10. The only thing that makes this a 12 out of 10 is if at the very end, a couple things happen. Worf gets on board, they beat the Borg, and they start singing the Kayla's Poop Law song. So at the end to send them off, which would have been awesome. And as soon as they achieve warp, with Zephram Cochrane being, of course, now I just forgot his name, James
Cromwell.
Cromwell. He would just tap the Phoenix lightly and say, "That'll do, pig. That'll do." So that would have been awesome. Cool. Otherwise, go. So that's my very succinct list.
I think we've pretty much covered most of what I've got. I mean, the first one I had was that this just looks like a movie, whereas Generations didn't so much, where this looks like it belongs on the big screen, and I don't know whether it's because we've got a new ship and we've got new uniforms, or because we've got Frakes directing, which also, for his first film, this is an incredible achievement for your first feature film. And I think it's a shame that Frakes' career, he did the Thunderbirds movie, and then that pretty much killed his movie directing career, which I think's a real shame because he shows how good he can be with this. And yeah, it's maybe giving him another shot, giving him some better material to work with. The Enterprise E, really like the Enterprise E. I like that the Borg are presented in kind of a grander scale than we've seen them before. Like that first sequence where it pans back and back and back, and we see the inside of the cube, and it's got all these turns, and there's a big sort of circular thing in the middle, and it's just stuff you couldn't do on a TV budget. Like, it was always implied that the Borg ships were vast, but actually getting to see it is brilliant. And I think I'm right in saying that this is the only film that references all the then current incarnations of Star Trek. So obviously it's a TNG film. Zefram Cochrane was first featured in the original series. You get the Defiant and Worf from DS9, and you get the Doctor from Voyager. So it's like, wow, we're actually acknowledging the whole thing. Picard's speech, obviously, because it's awesome. And the humour actually works in this one. Like we talked a lot on the last show about the, computer, delete plank. It's like, you're a plank, Riker, shut up. But the humour we get here really does work. And like you said, Lady, with Councillor Troy being drunk and everything, and though I do feel like the line between Deanna and Marina is really blurred in that scene. And also, where's her accent gone?
Are you implying that Marina's a drunk?
No, from what I know of Marina, I understand that she has a bit of a good time. That's all. And her accent's practically completely gone. It's like we're on the big screen now. You know, we don't.
Yeah, you can be British now.
Yeah, but yeah, where Riker sort of walks up behind her and he's just grinning because that's just so well played, because it shows that these characters know each other that well that just in a split second he's like, yeah, she's pissed. So that's really good. And what else did I have? Oh yeah, the Vulcans. So it was always, we always assumed that First Contact was with the Vulcans, but I think this is the first time it's ever directly confirmed, and I think the way it's directed plays that up as well, which you've got the hooded, and then it whips the hood back and the music swells and everything, and that kind of works on two levels, because for Star Trek fans were like, hey, so it was the Vulcans, and even people who are not big Star Trek fans, you know that Mr. Spock had pointed ears. Like, that's just a big enough part of popular culture that anyone would get that. So, yeah, I love all that stuff. I think that's great. Lainey, have you got any left on your list?
Yeah, I do. So, I really like that they used Dixon Hill, because I think, it's a nod to the fans who would have, who are following this through. It's not just all about entertaining a new audience. There's fan service. And yeah, I think it's just a bit of fun. Barclay. Do you know, I think the first many times I watched this film, I didn't even realise that was Barclay.
I didn't either.
Because he had changed so much. And I think one day I just picked up on Geordie called him Reg, and I'm like, oh, it's Barclay. But I think I'm just so pleased. Actually, and I've got Ogawa's in my cons, but for a good reason. It actually bringing up these reoccurring characters. I think that was nice as well, and I don't know how much Frakes would have had to do with all that, or whether actually it's because the writers had time to actually sit down and write a movie, unlike Generations, so they could make it have that like team and family film that they wanted to make. Geordie's eyes are cool.
Yeah.
Lily's entrance to the bridge, seeing Worf and and he's immediately like, I'm a Klingon. Like, he just knows that that's how people are going to react. I'm a Klingon. And then what I noticed this time is that everyone else is sort of like pussyfooting around Picard, and she just like plonks herself down in the captain's chair. Because she doesn't know it's the captain's chair. She's never been on a spaceship. So she just is like, oh, I need to sit down, so I'm going to sit here. It's just, I think a very good visual for their whole relationship. If you were any man, I'd kill you where you stand. Does he say kill him? I think he does.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Yeah. And then after they have their Barney, Picard dismisses Worf, and then Beverly takes charge. She just like is like banging out the orders straight off. Like that rank thing is just like it's so clear in this film that right, he's gone now. She's in charge, and she's like, go and sacrifice yourself to the Borg, ensign, or whatever she does, whatever she says. All of Lily's lines. I mean, they spoke about it on the main pod, but you can't fault anything she says. She's brilliant the whole film. The Data and the Borg Queen says to Data quite early on, like, why do you use this primitive language when you're capable of much more? And then as Picard's sort of saying goodbye to the ship, he hears Data go, Captain. So he's like, he doesn't use his primitive language to communicate with Picard. He, is obviously tapped into the network, Borg networking, is psychically sending whatever to Picard to talk to him. So I like that. And then I have this note that says fully functional to Data's double bluff, and I have no idea what I meant by that.
Well, he says he's fully functional. That's the whole sex
That's
joke.
the whole sexy time thing. And then, I don't know, maybe I was thinking along the lines of that he fools her. Does he fool her the whole time? Or is he... I know he does say he considers her offer.
He pretends at the end, doesn't he, to be...
8 seconds, sir.
Yeah. And then he goes, shh, and he smashes the thing, and I don't know.
I can't remember. Like I say, I watched it very late. I was half asleep, and God knows what I was rabbiting on about in my brain. But yeah, that's my con, and I have some neutral zones.
Yeah.
But I shall let somebody else speak.
I've got a couple of neutral zones. One of them is... It's... The main storyline is very, very ship-based. And so, I mean, I think maybe it doesn't feel as epic as sometimes Star Trek films can do, because it's all contained to one place. And I think a lot of this is, it's not First Contact, it's me. It's it's the expectations I took into it, but I was like, I want a massive space battle with the Borg, and I wanted the finale to be a big space battle as well. And I just feel like we got a little shortchanged on the space battle, because the whole thing was, we had the Battle of Wolf 359, but we couldn't really show it that well because we only had a TV budget to work with. And Emissary showed a little bit of it. It's like, right, you're doing the Borg on the big screen. Finally, we're going to get to see this. And I know we do get a bit of it, but it's all front-loaded at the start of the film, then it's gone. But it's only neutral zone because that's my problem, and the film does what it does really, really well. That line about, you're on some kind of Star Trek, cheesy.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of, apparently there is a thing that people will go to the cinema, and if at any point a character in the film speaks the name of the film, they stand up and applaud and then leave immediately. And
I can imagine it would have done.
And
that would have happened.
And then, this would be the only Star Trek film where they would get to do that. But I always hope when I go see the cinema that maybe there'll be some of those people in the screening I'm seeing, and maybe I'll actually get to witness it. But so far, I've never seen anybody do it in real life. I've just read about it.
I think I would have given a sarcastic, like, ooh.
Yeah, it's like, it's a funny one. And the other one, again, I think this is probably just a cultural difference thing, and we're in an interesting position to talk about it. So we have 2 American council members and 2 English ones. And Moby Dick is referenced in so many films, and I kind of feel like that isn't a cultural touchstone in England, but from watching American films, it's like, it must be like the great American novel, and is it?
I don't know. I don't know what Alex says, but I think it was always presented to me. I never read it as like this great big giant book that people talk about because they read it and they want everybody else to know they read it. So, and it's always been known as kind of this unwieldy book.
Right, so it's not like you've all read it and you all think it's great and...
I don't know. I just probably offended Alex, but he's probably thought it was great. But
I mean, I read it. It's a good book.
Okay.
Is it one of your like required things to do at school? Like we have to do a Shakespeare in detail.
Yeah, it was a while back. That was one of the required reading. They change it every year. You know, like books get older, they, pick newer old books. So they're still like old books, but they're like newer than other old books.
Right.
So that one sort of phased out. I think now they're reading stuff that would have been written a lot earlier for the old books. It's not something that's used as much anymore. It's really just like a reference point. Like,
yeah, it's...
the plot is about revenge, so it's really just a reference like, oh, hey, this is about revenge. Here's another thing that's about revenge. It's totally the same thing. Yeah, definitely 100% the same thing. Let's just reference this.
It works in that context. I've just always wondered whether it was just something we were missing out on because it's not one of our set texts, and like... Of Mice and Men tends to be the American novel that, I mean, is novel the right word? I don't know, technically, is it a novella? I'm not sure. Something to do with...
just like referencing things. We're just like, oh yeah, this is that thing that everybody knows about. Let's just reference it. The only reason everyone knows it is because you keep referencing it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think part of that as well is because in England, our literary tradition obviously goes back further than in America because, you're a much newer country. And so maybe it's a bit of that, like, Moby Dick's one of the great American novels, but there's not as many to choose from, if that makes sense. I'm not saying there's not loads of great American novels. There are, but whereas it wouldn't necessarily crop up in English popular culture as much because ours tends to focus more on like Dickens and Shakespeare and Chaucer and all that stuff. So I don't know. No, that's why it's in the neutral zone. So it's just something I find interesting, but it's not neither good nor bad. Anyone else neutral zones?
Was it? Oh, go on, Derek.
Oh, you go ahead, Lainey.
I was going to say, was it in Generations that I noticed that all the extras were much older than they were in the television show? Or was that Undercover Country? I can't remember. But yeah, on this, all like the bridge extras and like the extra security people, like basically red shirts when they're walking around the corridors and stuff, much older. And I think that this is a way of making the main cast look younger by making people around them older. So I noticed that again. Picard knowing where to fire. I think this is more a question that he knows where to fire on the Borg ship. Like, has he always known where to fire on the Borg ship, or did he just like get a hunch when he approached the ship? Because if he's always known where to fire on the Borg ship, why has he not told somebody that?
Yeah.
Emailed Starfleet.
Maybe when he got close enough, he could sense them and therefore knew where the weak spots were on that particular ship. Maybe. I mean, that sort of ties into what I was saying, like the space battle is a bit disappointing because it's like, Picard sends them and goes, shoot there, and there. And then you're like, what? All right.
Yeah, maybe there needed to be a bit more, and then sort of like him getting a message.
That's it. Like they could have done it easily with just having that voice in his head thing, and him going, But obviously Patrick Stewart had done it better than I just did it there. But... No, dear boy, I think you'll find I'll say it like this. And then her clothes fall off.
When the engineers realise that there's something scuttering about in the Jeffries cube. Is that like the Borg Queen's upper half before her minions have
Could be.
created? Did they just beam like her head and shoulders over and she's just like scuttering about in the Jeffries tubes, making Borgies?
Could be. See, I always thought that she didn't exist necessarily until she was required. And then they just sort of went, oh, we need these bits, and they just found the bits and made her there and then, kind of. That was always what I thought, but I like your idea of her head just scuttling about much
I mean,
more.
it contradicts what I'm saying about, if she's always been she's just they've made a physical representation of her, of them, in this sexy woman to seduce Data. But I kind of quite like the idea that it's just her head and shoulders scuttering about.
Yeah.
Because what did they beam over that was in the Jeffries tube? Like,
well, I presumed it was just
nano things.
some Borg.
Some Borg. But
Yeah.
they scutter. They're scuttering about.
Yeah, it could be. Could be just little nano Borgs.
Beetleborgs.
Beetle-
Gummy bear
yeah.
Borgs.
Little Borgs. Mini Borg.
Little
Borg-like.
gummy Borgs. Little fun-sized and walking around like little gummy bear shaped Borgs with little
That'd be
eyepieces.
cool. Like, what was it? Gaknar in Buffy, where he was... It's a total tangent now, but there's an episode of Buffy where they summon this demon.
I know what you mean.
And he finally
Fear
appears at the end of the episode, and he's like, I bring the fear. And it turns out he's like 3 inches tall, and yeah.
And the language, the strange language that was written underneath just said actual size.
Yeah. Gaknar. I always thought they should have kept Gaknar in Buffy, not stunning him, but just kept him in like a hamster
little
cage and just had him for the rest of the show. Anyway.
Put him in with Amy.
Yeah. Poor Amy. Actually, not poor Amy. She's quite horrible when she comes back.
She is
Sorry, that's for the Buffy podcast.
traumatised about an abusive mother.
Yeah, true.
It's because I'm sitting there wearing my Sunnydale high tea.
There you go. That's it. That's
Distracted you.
subliminally. That's what's drawing my mind to Buffy. Yeah. Any other neutral zones?
I do, but I will allow someone else to speak.
Sure. I just found out that they made a Thunderbirds movie apparently without the puppets. So
Yep.
what the hell is that all about? No wonder it failed. So
Yep.
you got to have the puppets.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another I don't know if you ever saw old episodes of Thunderbirds, but they
Oh,
were
yeah.
awesome.
Oh, gotcha.
You guys, yes. I don't know if Alex has ever seen those.
Of course she hasn't.
Yeah.
Well,
She's a
Thunderbirds.
fetus, Derek.
The weird
just-
thing, it's never really gone away. Every 10 years or so, it gets popular again, but they don't. They have remade it, but they just tend to show the original run again. And I think maybe because it is puppets and it's not aged in the same way, it always catches on again.
Better with puppets. This is the world. This is one of the truest things in the world. Everything's funnier and better with puppets.
They also changed the design of Thunderbird 2 in that film, which they shouldn't have done because Thunderbird 2 is awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just a sudden neutral zone. There's still, I don't know. Yeah, the whole Borg Queen data. I don't know. There's not. This movie's aged a little bit in terms of just its lack of feminism. In terms of there's this big male-female divide and everything, and I'm like, this is Star Trek, Sure, maybe on the past Earth, but I don't know. That's just a tiny little thing. But no, I was just noticing one of this when they're doing the space battle. Yeah, it's short with the deflector array, but they kind of Frakes does a couple of things where he just kind of shows the perspective of the astronauts, where you just kind of get disoriented for a second.
Yeah, that's great.
And it just makes me just a little bit like, whoa, okay, so that would be very hard. But there's not really all that many neutral zones. I'm not a big Barkley fan, so he was just kind of extraneous to me. But because it's another one like the Borg Queen where he's great in a couple, maybe one or two things, and he keeps popping up in Voyager. And he's not on Voyager, so except they make him on Voyager, like with the hologram, drives me nuts.
He's on Voyager more than he's on TNG, which is weird.
Yes. So agreed, but I think I'm rambling on. Those are my neutrals.
Alex, do you have any neutral zones?
Just the awkward Data Borg Queen scenes. I think those might be cons, though.
Yeah.
This is so awkward.
I think I find them less awkward now. I used to find them a lot more awkward. I don't know whether I was sort of feeling Data's awkwardness more, and it's sort of, I was, he would be like, what the?
Well,
so I think when I watched it this time, I felt awkward for Data rather than this is just cringe.
We know not to bring the tone down too much, but we know Data's fully functional. Is the Borg Queen fully functional? Because she does start off as a separate head that's attached to what looks like a fully mechanical body.
Well, this may answer the big question: is did they create her to seduce Data? Because if they created her with full functionality, then I would say that they did create her for that purpose. Otherwise, what would the point be of her having reproductive?
Well,
parts?
Yeah, it's a weird
I'm
one.
going to say when they put the skin on Data, they injected it full of hormones, so he's like a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Suddenly the hormones have turned on, and he's got this spike of all sorts of testosterone and other steroidal components, so he just doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So I'm going to say that. That's my nursing explanation.
Yeah.
That's my explanation.
And, like, if Data, started getting a bit carried away and let's say he tried to undo, like, the Borg Queen's dress, would her head just fall off again?
Yeah, scatter back on.
Yeah.
Which is very unromantic if you are indeed.
Just don't think about it too much.
Well, no, but Jonathan Frakes has made us.
I don't know. He had to direct it. Like, it was Braga and Moore that wrote it.
Yeah, dirty Braga and Moore. Dirty.
I have more.
Go on.
So when they're first walking through the Borgs, back up just after Data deactivates his anxiety, and they see the Borg, and Picard's like, lower your phasers. They won't react unless they consider us a threat. And then, like 30 seconds later, Data just like snaps the neck of a Borg. Would the Borg not think, that guy's a threat? He's killed Borg before. Would they not have just immediately attacked them?
Yeah, they should probably just have a standing order that goes, the crew of the Enterprise are a threat.
It's not the first time he snapped the neck of a Borg either. Although that was kind of orchestrated by Law.
When I was watching it earlier today, it just occurred to me the thought that they were trying to draw the crew in so they could get Data. Because I always thought that he just snatched because he was next to the door. Then I thought, well, maybe they're just trying to play with them, and then they really wanted him.
For the encryption codes, because he's encrypted the computer.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. That just popped into my head today.
I think that's a very good point. And it would explain why they didn't necessarily react, yeah?
So yeah, the space Borg, I mean, the way that it's shot makes you go, whoa. I like to think that once you're there, everything looks up the right way anyway. Like,
well, it would do, yes.
Like,
there's no up and down in space. Yeah.
But what would make my knees buckle is if I thought I was on Earth in a building and then somebody opened a window and I was looking down at the Earth and Lily's just like, I'd be like, I'd be vomiting. I wouldn't be standing up. Like, that would throw me right off. So I don't know how she stays standing up when he opens that window. More on the windows later. Also, when she ambushes Picard, he proper elbows her in the nunny. See, I said there'd be a nunny. He elbows her in the nunny. Proper like. And assimilate this. Has Arnold Schwarzenegger said that somewhere? Is that actually a direct parody?
I don't think he said assimilate this.
It feels very Arnie.
He said your luggage when he killed an alligator. He said... One of my favourite Arnie ones that just makes no sense is when he kills the guy called Sub-Zero in Running Man, and he goes, once Sub-Zero, now plain zero. Like, what? Is that meant to be an insult? I don't get it. But I don't think he said assimilate this.
It just feels like it is a pun on an Arnie line.
It's a very Arnie. I'm sure if Arnie...
It is very Arnie.
If Arnie defeated the Borg, I'm pretty sure that's what he'd say.
Yeah. Do you think, maybe Worf is a massive Schwarzenegger fan?
It probably would be.
Maybe he watches all of Arnie's films.
Yeah.
It's like on Stargate, Tilk knows Die Hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'd be good if Worf, not only is he a big Arnie fan, but he really likes like the underappreciated ones. He's like, Hercules in New York is genius.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Headcanon. Like when Worf's in his quarters, he's not doing some rituals with candles. He's just watching. Oh God.
Commando.
Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, Kindergarten Cop's great.
I was trying to think of the Christmas. That's the Christmas one when you can't find the toy.
Oh, Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, that one. Those would be Worf's favourites.
It's not a tumour.
Twins. Twins, and the one that gets pregnant. That's not
Junior.
Twins, is it? That's a different one. Junior.
No, but they both have Danny DeVito in.
Okay.
I kind of excuse Worf's assimilate this a tiny bit because when I was watching it, Picard is the one who depowers. He shoots the cord, and I guess that was their plug-in cord to the rest of the ship, so it powers down. So he's got a few seconds, and so he's just angry they decompressed his suit. So
yeah, he's trying to think of something.
Still a little cheesy, but he's not sitting there doing like 20 seconds of dialogue while they're still trying to get to send the signal out. So it's cheesy. Yeah, okay, never mind. I'll just throw that.
I like it. I think it's good.
It's in neutrals. I missed one. Eyes. What's with all the eyes? The attacking of the eyes and the drilling in the heads and stuff. Don't like that.
Suppose it freaks people out. So
yeah, I think it's unsettling for most people to deal with eye stuff. So
yeah.
Well, what's that film? The film from like 1912 or whatever it is, where somebody cuts an eye and
Oh, the Andalusian Dog, Salvador Dali. Un Chien Andalou, I think.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that's still
the one where they do the cow. Yeah.
On the main pod, the girls are talking about Bev and Troy having much straighter hair. My understanding of this is that this is the first time that they've not been putting them in massive wigs, and this is actually their natural hair.
That's probably it. Yeah.
And yes, I mean it's 1996, so obviously everyone was straightening the hair, but yeah, I think this is actually the first time that they're not wearing these massive like additional extensions and hair pieces and stuff, and it does look very different, but it's just because they've gone, nah, I'm not wearing that. Because even Gates McFadden, she's got naturally like auburn hair, but they still put a wig on top of her.
Well, yeah, I didn't realise how much wigs goes on in Star Trek. I mean, obviously, everyone knows about William Shatner, but like, I listened to Robert Duncan McNeil and Garrett Wong do a podcast, and Robert Duncan McNeil talks about how, as Tom Paris, he had a wig for the vast majority of the show. And
Really?
yeah, I'm like, why? But yeah.
Oh my God, I'm going to have to watch back some Voyager to observe the wig.
I think maybe part of it, I suppose, from a production standpoint, is to avoid continuity issues. So if you've got all of your cast in a wig, and you make sure that you dress the wig the same every time, you don't have to worry about people's hair growing or thinning or, whatever. So maybe it's something to do with that. But yeah, people you wouldn't think were wearing wigs, you're like, oh, they had a wig.
Well, I'm quite shocked. It's almost making me want to go watch some Voyager. Oh my goodness.
Hi.
Okay, I'm done.
Oh, so we're on to cons.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to get my con out of the way, and I think I've touched on it about the battle, but my big problem with this film is I think the first act of the film is a little bit scrappy, and it just doesn't flow very well, and it almost feels like a box-ticking exercise. It's like, we start off, and then it's the Borg are invading, but we're not allowed to go, and in your head you're just going, they're so gonna go. But they still spend a couple of minutes, and then it's like, you know what, we're gonna go, and you're like, oh, yeah, I didn't see that coming. And, and then they finally go, and then the battle just gets wrapped up in 2 minutes, and you're like, whoa, what? And then it's like, right, right, we've gone back in time, and you're like, oh, there's still the Borg sphere going around, so, something could happen. Whoa, we've blown that up as well, and you're like, wait a minute, what's happened to the film, And obviously I know that stuff happens after that, but it just feels a little bit too paint by numbers, the start of it. Like, you can't go, let's defy orders, we've defied orders, here we go, we've won, yay, we've blown that one up, let's blow the other one up, yay. And I know it's, again, just a functional thing to get us where we need to be, but I just don't feel it, I don't feel the drama in it, because it just feels like, yeah, I know that it's all gonna happen, so can we just get on with it, So that's my complaint about the first act. Then the other bit I don't like is where, and again, it makes sense within the context of the story, but where Picard goes, let's set the auto-destruct sequence. And I'm like, no, don't. We've only just got this ship. I like, this is been looking forward to a new Enterprise, and you're going to blow it up. And I know they don't, but it just feels like, really?
Blow up the damn ship.
Yeah, which you see,
Luke.
Again, it's a great dramatic moment and everything. But I'm just like, oh, don't be stupid. Don't blow up the ship. We blew up a ship in the last film. We're not going to blow up another ship.
No, they crashed a ship in the last.
Well, yeah. There was no ship at the end of the film, regardless of how we got there. And the other thing is, I think, and this is my only criticism of Frakes' directing, is that some of the CGI is decidedly iffy at the end, where Picard's climbing out of the thing and you've got the green smoke, and it's very obviously green CGI smoke. And I think that is probably because the budget wasn't there to do it really, really well. But I think as a director, if you're aware that you're not going to be able to do that effect really, really well, you should find another way of doing the sequence so that it doesn't expose the production's weaknesses. But then maybe he said, look, guys, can you do a good special effect? And they went, yep. And then they turned up with that, and So I don't know, but that's only a minor criticism. And, for it to say it's 1996, the CGI is pretty good.
They got some pretty good pokey in the eye stuff going on.
Yeah, where it pokes Picard's eyeball at the start. That's like, oh, don't like that. Do not like that.
Oh. And like Borg arms, like.
Yeah, the Borg are freaky. The light. It's proper like body horror stuff, and yeah. So they're my only real criticisms of it, which I thought I was going to sound harsher than I did, and I didn't, so there you go. Happy with that. Derek, have you got any cons?
I think they've pretty much all been discussed. Neelix's mustache. So
Oh.
this kind of adds. I feel sorry for the guy because he always gets crapped upon because he's got a crappy character, and then they put him in this, and it's like that. The whole Dixon Hill thing, I know Lainey likes it. I guess I could justify it, but he could just say, "Oh, just give me a machine gun to the holodeck," and But it's kind of fun, and I like to see him dressed up. Never mind, I'm taking that out of cons. You convinced me. So
It's fun.
yeah,
It is fun, but yeah, you're right. It'd have been better going in and going, right, instead of Dick
Just give me a
Snell,
load of guns.
yeah, can I have that bit out of the Matrix where he goes, guns, lots of guns, and he goes, shh, like, can we have a bit of that?
yeah.
Or even better, like, can I have, like, Mecha Godzilla?
Like Generations was on TV all the time, and I just always got 15 minutes here and there. This one I haven't been exposed to. I mean, I've seen it several times, but it just keeps getting a little better each time. I'm not to the point of where I've been oversaturated with it yet. I'm sure I will in about 20 years, but so, no, I'm actually good. I can't believe I'm saying that, but
Alex, do you have any cons?
No.
Fair enough. Straight to the point. Lainey, what about you?
Okay. So I mentioned that Ogawa is in my cons. And that is because, I mean, if anyone listens to Star Trek The Next Conversation, they always monitor how many lines the actress gets. Because if she hits 5 lines, she gets paid more. And she only had 3. I think that's out of order.
It'd be a different contract, though, for a movie than it would be for the show.
Okay. Well, then in that case, that's not a con. So
It
that
might be,
my only
because they
con
might have
is-
gone, right, your contract's even worse for this, you know?
You've got to show up because you're in the TV show. We're not going to pay you anything.
Yeah.
So the other thing was that force field windows don't seem very sensible. But then glass windows wouldn't. But then what's that stuff that they bring the whale back in?
Transparent aluminum.
yes,
Why haven't they got that?
I know they invented it, or supposedly.
So, yeah, it just seems like anytime the ship gets hit, power supplies go down, and just.
I presume that, like, a bulkhead must drop down or something, but...
I mean, they did have that, shutter.
But yeah, you wouldn't need to worry about that if you just didn't have force field things, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that I thought, I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
this has got to be the least cons.
very few cons.
Oh,
So, with that in mind then, where are we going to put this on the big list? Let me just bring the list up because we may need a reminder.
Too hard now.
So, I'm presuming this is going to go closer to the top than the bottom, so
But it's just whether or not, is it better than Wrath of Khan, and then is it better than...
Well, at
Voyage
the minute, we've got Voyage Home, then Undiscovered Country, then Wrath of Khan, then Search
Good.
for Spock, then Generations, then Final Frontier, then Motion Picture. So,
Right. I think it's better than Undiscovered Country then.
right, but is it better than Voyage Home?
See, I liked Voyage Home for very much the same reasons. Like,
I don't know. At this point, I'm going to say yes. It goes above for me. This is just me, but yeah, above Undiscovered or Voyage Home, above Space Jam the movie, the new one, which I fell asleep of with my son. This is about a month ago, so socially distanced, but below The Godfather because I just read the book and saw the movie again.
Right.
So, but above Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, definitely above Ant-Man and the Wasp, yeah. I mean, that's below Generations on our list at the minute, so...
I think it's tied with Captain America and Winter Soldier because that's my favorite Marvel movie. So,
I mean, obviously, it's not going to touch Zack Snyder's Justice League because that is
Nothing ever will.
that is the pinnacle to which all cinema strives.
Oh.
I'm so glad I don't have HBO Max right now, so I don't have to pretend I want to watch that right now. So that's bad. That's horrible. But
No one wants to watch it right now.
I think I'm going to go with this in the number one spot, because if you was to say to me, you've got to watch First Contact or Voyage Home, I'd watch First Contact. But I think
Okay.
they're equally as good.
Okay. Alex,
I agree with-
what about you? Because we know that you're a big Voyage Home fan.
I like Voyage Home too much.
Okay, so Alex is going... So will you go Voyage Home, then this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got 2 for number 1, 1 for number 2.
Good swing vote, mate.
I know.
Oh, we could have tied one.
It's
Yeah.
tied.
They're such different films.
Yeah.
We can have best of original and then best of next gen. They can get tied as
you
first.
see, I'd probably put it below Voyage Home, but that means we do have a tie break.
I'm okay with that.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So maybe we could ask Jeremy if we can find out like what the council's vote was or something, and we can use whichever one came higher in the council vote to decide which one goes first. But yeah, so it's jointly, there it is. Well, that was an exciting finish to the episode.
That'll do. That'll do.
I don't think
Is everyone still awake?
big time, yeah.
Excellent.
So we've done better than we did for Generations. Whee! So tied with Star Trek 4 is Star Trek First Contact. I don't think the other two are going to trouble the top of the list, but you never know. We'll find out next time. In the meantime, then, the guys on the main pod will be talking about Insurrection next, and also Jeremy and Chelsea are covering Lower Decks as it continues to be broadcast. And from a UK perspective, we're happy because we actually get to watch it now this time.
Yay!
We had to wait like 6 months for season 1, but we're actually getting...
Yeah, it
Season
threw me
2.
when they were saying it's been a year since the first season was released. I was like, no, it hasn't.
5 minutes.
I was like, actually, no, it was last August, wasn't it? Because they released it on YouTube. And I remember watching it in my car, and then it got taken off YouTube.
Yeah.
Sad face.
I may have to get Paramount Plus and actually catch up with new tracks. So
Yeah. Well, it's and we're getting Paramount Plus as well, apparently, but we're getting it as part of Sky, and it's all going to be crazy, and nobody really knows what any of it means. And I think that'll about do us for this episode of the Star Trek Wars Roundtable. So thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you next time for Star Trek Insurrection.
Toodle pip.
There once was a ship, but to the skies the name of the ship was the Enterprise. Her nacelles lit, her phasers armed, oh blow, you red shirts blow. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go. Been not 2 weeks from Sector 1 when we were sacked by Romulans. Red alert was called, and Captain said torpedoes make it so. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go. Before our foe had reached the hull, the shields were raised and power at full. Screen went dark, the Romulans gone when they engaged their cloak. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go.